We closed an $8,000 a month client last night.
How on earth do you find someone managing a $700 million fund randomly when you're scrolling and such an opportunity that you spot? At this point, the deal is already closed, so it doesn't matter what email or proposal I really send after this.
Awesome. Well, let me run this through our team, and we'll try to get back to you this week if we can, or I might ask questions if we have them.
This is a very rough template you can use for your agency or service-based business. We have like a thing on Figma that we always edit for the clients that we want to give a little more effort around our work, right? Like who we've done this for, and the case studies always help out.
We closed an $8,000 a month client last night, and in this one, I'm going to walk you through how we found them. So literally how we came across the lead, after which I will tell you about the cold email that we sent to them, why it worked, why it got a response, after which we will go to the actual call. So the appointment is set. Now we're having the sales call. My co-founder is there with me, and I will walk you through what we did well, what we could have done better, and then what an SLA is. So what a contract with such a prospect looks like. That should be enough info for you to get your first client or increase your average customer value in your current agency or freelance business.
So this is Vihan. He works as a copywriter at Atomik, but he actually does a lot more, and I'll let him take you over now. How did you find them? And how did you book the call?
So for context, guys, I used to work in venture capital. So pretty much my entire X feed is full of VCs. Came across, he's seemed like a funny guy, but he also really knew what he was talking about. So I went into his profile and I said, wow, this guy should have a podcast. Then I found out he does, which he hosts with 3 other VCs, right? Listened to the podcast a little bit, really good conversations. And then I asked myself, hey, how can we help them? So I remember I put into a little Google Doc, just listing down or jotting down points about, okay, we can help them. And essentially at Atomik, we have 2 qualifiers. First is the financial qualifier. So a $700 million fund, which I verified through this VC database called PitchBook, right? And then I was like, okay, these guys are directly in our ideal client profile. Then something we do at Atomik is pretty much qualify for vibes. So he seemed like a really chill guy, and I wanted to reach out to him.
And if we go back into why is your feed even tailored to venture capital? Because how on earth do you find someone managing a $700 million fund randomly when you're scrolling and such an opportunity that you spot? Because that's what most people lack, right?
Yeah. Well, I think it just comes from being obsessed with what you do, right? Also, when you just eat and live venture capital, that just happens, right? So you need to love your niche, and social media will probably take care of the rest of it. Like, look at my likes. The next post is literally, if you're a VC without a podcast, are you a VC? So I think it just comes from the fact that I love what I do.
Let's jump to the email.
So they did an episode around Telegram and free speech after Powell's arrest. So I found a way to work that into the subject line. I said that essentially the goal behind writing this was telling them that they can do better. Then I start by addressing who's going to read this email. Obviously, use Grammarly, make sure grammar's right, sentence structure's right? Start by appreciating them for what they've achieved, which is the fact that the conversations are really good. Then go into how we can help them, which is improving discoverability, and how we do it. It's something that most people get wrong. Don't be afraid to give out your process because you're not getting anything by keeping it under lock and key. To give us more credibility, at the end, we speak about who we're working with, and we hyperlink a case study for each of these clients. Acquired, for example, we speak about, okay, 52 million views generated, here's how. Whole case study, right? So it's a more comprehensive way of showing the work we have done, how we have done it in one simple line. Another case study. And at the end, the CTA, we don't want to sell too hard, right? So let me know if you'd like more info is perfect, because that way, if they have any follow-up questions, we can answer. And then we sent this email at 2:10 a.m. IST. Within 9 minutes, we got 2 of the hosts getting back to us, and they were pretty much sold. And in 11 minutes, the person we had the call with from their team got back to us and had booked the call.
So now we're going to be jumping into the sales call. There are a lot of things that Arthur and I could have done a lot better, and I'm going to point them out. Honestly, it's a little embarrassing because this call wasn't the best, but all that matters is that we got the deal closed. So it's a win. And another thing is that this sales call, we've fucked it up a lot for saving your time and maintaining client confidentiality and any information that we wouldn't just want anyone to know, right? Because it's a one-on-one convo that they trust us with. So I can't show you everything, but I hope that you learn a bit of sales and what we do. Hey.
Hi there. How are you?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
Good, thanks.
Awesome. Arthur should be joining us in a minute or two. I think he's running over a meeting, but yeah. First of all, if it's a two-man call, right? Because usually if you want, you can join with your co-founder or anyone that you want. Be on time. Try not to run over other meetings. And the way you do this is by leaving a buffer after every calendar event that you have. So be on time. And another thing is that my small talk is probably the worst part about my sales. I suck at making small talk, but I've been trying to improve, get better, ask them where they're from. Just try to, for the first 30 seconds, try to get to gel with the person instead of directly jumping into business. It's a mistake that I used to make a lot.
Where are you coming from?
I'm coming from India. Where are you guys based?
We are in the Bay Area, Silicon Valley.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's literally where most of our clients are. So we'll be doing like a little run by as well.
What time is it where you are?
It is 11 p.m. So I'm used to like working the graveyard shifts.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You've got an appropriate background.
Well, thanks for replying to the cold email and hopping on. And how these calls would normally go is first ask you what exactly intrigued you the most so that I know where I should focus on. And then I'll tell you a little bit about us, the company, what exactly we do, and see if there's some synergy for us to work together. This is called setting the frame. This is where you walk your prospect through what you're going to be using this call for. It's very important that you dictate the flow or the order of the call. You don't want to be using a sales script because that's just inhumane, but you do want a general rough guidance so that you're in control of the conversation and where you want it to go towards. I could have done a better job here. I feel like my frame was a little vague. I should have been a little more specific. By what I mean, if there's synergy for us to work together, it's like a ChatGPT line. You can improve. You can improve on that.
Great. No, it was good timing. I've actually been chatting with another company that I've worked with before to really start thinking about growing. It started just randomly. It wasn't a really focused effort. We just were kind of having fun.
Got it. I think that is how most of the best podcasts are made. One note here is how she mentioned she's been talking to other agencies. That's always a good thing because whenever people are actively searching for service providers, we end up being the best option, right? So it's amazing to know that, okay, they're actively looking for people and that it's good timing for us to reach out to them. Because most of the times, even if you reach out to people, if it's just bad timing, you're never going to get anywhere. This starts with people talking without, you guys don't really think ahead.
Yeah.
And then, oh, wow, okay, it starts working. And now you're like, okay, well, since we started, we might as well get a lot of eyeballs on it as well. So
yeah, it's very organic for sure.
Yeah, for the way it is right now, like without actually putting in much effort, for the views it is getting just on YouTube, even that in itself is like pretty high. Overall, so I know that you guys started just, to talk as friends and now it's gaining some momentum. What would you say is the goal with this? Like, do you want to end up having, obviously get more views, but do you also want to funnel it into, let's say, your LinkedIn posts? I know that you guys also have an Instagram now. So you guys want to grow that? Or
want way more distribution across.
So this was my attempt to understand what do they really want to achieve from their podcast. I could have framed this better in trying to understand the real goal, but obviously you can't just say, hey, what is your real goal with the podcast? That's not how you can speak. So can do a better job here around around trying to find out why they started. So they started as friends. That's because they kept talking and then it turned into a nice conversations that others were listening to. But beyond that, what is the goal of now? What do they want to do with this podcast now that it's already gaining a bit of momentum? And another mistake that I made is that Arthur joined and I didn't stop to introduce him. I introduced him a little while later.
Across multiple channels. At some point, I could see us making the brand even broader across email, like a newsletter, and maybe there's.
Got it. This is my co-founder, Arthur, by the way.
Hi.
Sorry, my internet's dying on me. I'm just going off.
please have stable internet.
No problem.
To give you a bit more info on us. One thing good I did while Arthur's internet was lagging, I take over and I'm like, okay, I gotta give her more info. I can't just wait for Arthur to fix things. Arthur and I started this company around 2 years back. Before this, I was working in an edtech company, and we were literally like a team of 80 video editors at one point, chopping up clips for social media to drive info product sales. And at that time, Arthur and I, we both were avid podcast listeners, especially in the tech and sort of like the VC space. So Arthur, he knew the guys from, and so then we started working specifically in short form content. And after that, we had a bunch of VCs. We were like, okay, we just want to work with one agency that does the full thing. So we expanded from there, and now we handle podcasting. We've even been launching a few podcasts. And yeah, that's where we're at right now. So this is called the elevator pitch. After the client introduces themselves, you have to have something ready about you. Who are you? What have you done before this? Why are you even working in this field? Like, connected to a little bit about your background and just the why, right? Why are you who you are and why you're doing this? And notice how you should always tailor your elevator pitch depending on who you're selling to. Over here, I mentioned, hey, so then we started working with a bunch of VCs and they just wanted one agency who can do it all. So now I'm referring to others in a way that she would like to hear about us, right? Like they want one agency who can do everything and they're a VC. So tailor your elevator pitches, but have a general framework of who you are and be able to introduce yourself.
Apologies for being late on the call. So one of the clients we work with is team, and we were just on a call with them before that. So and just going back to what Suba said with the clients we work with, we want some podcasts for we work with some VCs out of New York. We've got so many fun clients and cool clients. We're actually flying to the US just to meet them in 2 weeks' time. So that's really the funnest part of our job. So we're really glad we can have a chat with you today.
Now, Arthur introduces himself, but not only does he do that, he also adds to my elevator pitch because I kind of undersold us. So now Arthur starts, improving our sort of reputation because I didn't mention the clients we work with because, that's flexing in a way, but you got to do that. So he mentions the people we're working with since they're really high profile. Everyone knows them, especially in our niche, right? Everyone knows them. So just by mentioning them, we're seen as experts, having more credibility, and it's just something you do when you have a good clientele. Now, the upcoming US trip, I'm literally recording this, I'm leaving in 3 hours, and that's, it builds rapport in a way, because, hey, we're going to be literally in SF where you are. Might help.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think the difficult part of this type of podcast, I've done 2 podcasts prior to this. I think the problem with finding agencies and editors and social media support is that if you don't understand venture capital, you don't really know what content to clip that's resonant. And so it's nice that you guys work with venture firms and really understand what some of these acronyms need and what we're talking about, so we can really edit the content the right way.
Now, notice how she actually starts mentioning the pain points. I can guarantee you any previous agencies that she's been talking to are not specialized the way we are. That is why having a niche is so important.
Edit the content the right way.
100%. I mean, we got so niche at one point that we were super niche into cybersecurity podcasts as well. So
Nice.
our content curation team randomly just ended up becoming experts in cybersecurity. These guys were computer science level knowledge of the stuff. But just going back to the VC side of things, we literally hired a content writer who is just a VC content writer. They leave finance and venture capital, actually, interesting, and tech, interestingly enough.
Eat and live venture capital.
And so do we, to be honest. I've got a background in SaaS, computer science. I've gone raised from VCs. I've been through the whole shebang myself. So, It's really what we know well, to be honest. And Suba knows the content well. I knew the industry well and kind of merged it and, cross-pollinated ideas, basically. So we've shared our insights into each of our industries.
A lot of points here. Number one is that really good on going a little bit off topic because you don't always want to a lot of sales is building rapport with the person, connecting with them, right? So Arthur just mentioned one of our own struggles that we became so niche at one point where a lot of we started gaining domain specific cybersecurity knowledge. That's not very relevant to the conversation we're having, but regardless, if it builds rapport, if it connects with her, that's what matters. The second part is that VCs love second-time founders. So Arthur, if he's raised from venture capitalists before, that's like a huge green flag for them, right? Because normally the ideal customers for VCs are second-time founders and people who have demonstrated the ability to run a successful business before. So just by sprinkling that in, again, we're seen more as experts and we're gaining credibility.
Cool. Do you do like social marketing beyond, like outside of podcasts too, for some of these firms, or is it mainly like you're taking podcasts themselves and then figuring out how to distribute them across social?
Well, our core is really that we work with podcasts, but then if there's like ad hoc extra demands, like they had their summit video, so then we started working on that as well in addition to the podcast. But mainly it's like we won't work on anything unless we're already like in a like working relationship and there's a podcast that's like our main focus, and then if there's something else, then sure, we can take it up.
Right.
And podcast is so it could be a podcast or it could be a webinar, for example, if you have a webinar series that you're running, because the idea is what usually happens is with VCs and tech companies, they're time constrained, but they do need a certain volume of content. So basically the kind of model we're working with is we have a node to see the content from which all of the content kind of stems, and that's usually one long form piece of content from which we basically build out all the marketing material. That can be either like a live webinar or it can be a podcast.
So I guess like walk me through what you do. I mean, pick up kind of like what was like before and after you guys came in the mix.
Well, I guess a bunch of things that we can start with, and even when I look at a lot of low-hanging fruits. No, I made a mistake here that was corrected later by Arthur. That mistake was that I didn't actually answer her question. I went about it in a very roundabout way, where I first started talking about what we can do for them and then coming to our clients. And it's just the incorrect way of addressing what she actually wanted. This was actually a really good part where I could have flexed client results. Like, oh yeah, we started with them at like, what? I should have started with that, but I went about it in another way that wasn't the best. Number one, just being thumbnails. I actually think the thumbnails, because you guys put no effort into them, it somehow ends up working. Like, yeah. But maybe what we can do is we'll A/B test thumbnails. So if we actually produce one and make it look nice, would that perform better than the ones that are currently out there? Trailers. So let me. So actually, there's a cut over here that, because I don't want to bore you guys with all of this, but around this, right now, I'm being honest. What a lot of service providers do is that they make their service seem so paramount, like it's the most important thing. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes you don't even know if you can help them. So just by being totally honest, be like, hey, you guys have completely raw thumbnails and it might actually even just work. Well, I don't really know. So, just showing vulnerability in your service sometimes and being real, like not having insane guarantees. I don't know what I can do for you. That sometimes does better than I can guarantee you we'll get you X percentage of CTR. Actually share an example in chat. And what this does is increases the retention beyond the first 30 seconds. And also makes for great LinkedIn posts. So I'll share a quick link here. Horrible by me, I should have opened all the links before and have them ready for a call.
Got it. So adding a little bit of like B-roll into the quote.
A compilation of the best moments, right, from the podcast episodes. Just get them hyped and excited to watch the rest.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, we'll obviously clip a bunch of these moments so that you guys can syndicate it across different platforms, make it really nice. And then we also do ghostwriting. So we ensure that because we're so vertical and like niche specific, our copy is normally tailored for like LinkedIn and to help you guys perform and get some good posts going. We've also been working with, because we're niche specific again, it's like I know what they care about. They love their LinkedIn and Twitter more than like YouTube and Instagram in most cases. So we'll share sort of what we've been posting a lot of these. And what this will essentially do is make the most out of your podcast. Right. If you guys are already doing all the work to go ahead and record it, set it up, then we'll do all we can to distribute it and get more eyeballs on it.
The one thing
here is that their time, because everyone who's rich is time constrained. They don't have enough time. So when we mention that you're already putting the time in, let us make more out of that time. That's something that usually hits some of the pain points.
I mean, maybe short of acquired, you guys already have like like we're kind of a force multiplier, right? So if we're working from a really strong base, like the force multiplication we can do is much more. So we're always happy to see that the videos are getting quite a few thousand views, right, on a consistent basis. At least recently, they are.
Yeah.
So the base is there for the work we can do. And just as an example, right, before we started working with their YouTube was maybe like. So that's like on the really higher end of things, right? And then like with that a new podcast they launched, kind of a bit of a dead launch, but then we came in and we brought that up to a few thousand views per episode after it was launched. So we got experience with a bit of both.
Cool. What do you think works the best in podcasts? Like, why is it so successful versus?
Yeah, I mean, it all comes down to the quality of the conversation. Like, this is like, why are you guys successful as well, right? Compared to a lot of because the conversation you guys have is good. Like, look, we can put as much like sprinkles on the ice cream as we want, but at the end of the day, ice cream has to be good, right? So, we're not magicians, so it's always good to see like the core content being good. It really comes down to that.
Yeah.
Finesse with words, right? Great analogies. And I like the fact that we did something here is while complimenting them, being like, hey, your conversations are really good. But at the same time, like, look, we can only work if your product itself, which is, the podcast, is good with force multipliers. So if they have enough belief in their own podcast, that's when they should hire us and we can give them amazing results. It plays into psychology. So if they're confident, this works. And if they're not confident in their own product, then we probably don't want to work with them either. And we're probably not going to be a good fit. So, yeah. And for Pride, I think they went against all the podcasting norms. So they did episodes of like hours of, and do you do the audio and video edit in general? Again, there's a cut over here.
Or is that a different team?
The full thing. The goal is to be as hands-off for you as possible. Yeah. It's like you just do the recording on Riverside or whatever you guys are using, and we'll take the full thing, package it up so that it's all ready to just go out there. You don't really have to look at it.
What's the turnaround time for something like that? Because we record on Wednesday afternoons and we release Friday mornings, so it's a short window. But I know because you're in India, maybe there's actually synergy in that. Do you get a full?
The team is completely.
Our team is fully international. I'm in Tuscany right now. We've got some of the team in the Philippines, some in Peru, some in Europe. So it's fully all over the world.
Okay.
It's an interesting challenge.
Is that a reasonable turnaround time?
The first episode would definitely take us longer, but when we get in a rhythm, I think a 3-day turnaround would be more realistic. But that's once we get in the flow.
Yeah, I think that.
Obviously, be honest. Don't take on something that you don't think is possible.
It's a little tough, right? Because we do weekly and it's really based on the news happening that week. So the struggle is we need to record it late enough in the week where there is news already. It needs to be fresh. So the turnaround has to be shorter.
That makes sense. We have managed like 2-day turnarounds with, it's just that we're not like 100% because we want to do good work. So sometimes we want to compromise on the quality. We're not always happy with it. But yeah. I do think we can find a ground where, we get the bare minimum, not the bare minimum, but enough done so it makes a big difference. And then continue putting the shorts out like after the episode is published.
Also,
I wasn't very good with my words. So Arthur, he sort of made it better.
Us not being happy, it is better than what most people do when they are very happy.
I know.
I'm a team of perfectionists. Yeah.
I started a digital media company in 2011. We raised over venture capital. I have to live right now with the fact that we have, very young editors who don't understand venture capital editing our podcast, and it can be infuriating sometimes.
I can see you are infuriated, but you're like.
It makes me so upset because I'm such a perfectionist about content and quality. So I totally understand it and I appreciate it. And then so I guess, tell me about what the cost is for all of this. I was telling your partner, we were actually we had just been reached out to by different agencies. So we're kind of gathering some of this data in terms of quotes and thinking about it.
So we love when there's competition because we're so much better than all our competitors when it comes to our niche that it's not even funny. We literally charge double our rates. And also, one thing you'll notice is that Arthur and we have a lot of synergy in these calls. So whenever I say something that, is, and then Arthur just adds on top of it. And I do the same. So we really build on top of each other. And it's when you've been selling with one person for a long time, you're going to get that natural back and forth going. Rates were definitely not the cheapest. For 4 episodes a month, if we're doing everything, including 3 shorts an episode, thumbnail testing, producing the full thing, packaging it up, copy, announcements, essentially the full thing, it would cost around $8,000 a month. And we do have a minimum of 3 months.
Okay. That includes guest bookings and all.
You've heard this probably like a lot of times, but after you say the price and terms, you shut up.
And research and all that too. If we were to do that, 1 guest a month, for instance.
1 guest is so that would for 4 guests we would obviously
Not 4 guests. No.
Yes.
For 1 guest on the strategy side. I should have all of our pricing like in the back of my head, but I didn't at this time, so I should definitely update our price sheet. It's also that our prices, like we keep increasing them like every other month, so I probably had some outdated rate in my mind, which it's not good to hesitate in these moments. You should know the cost like that. So this was a mistake on my end, but Arthur, again, synergy, so he's able to jump in when he's like, yeah, shit, we've updated our prices.
Throw it in the pocket. Throw it in.
Let us get back to you on that one, okay?
Okay.
We can tell you for 4,
Yeah.
And just one more thing I would say, so in terms of the pricing, one thing I would always do is we've actually gone to other podcast agents just to see what they charge as well. They typically charge half the price as us. That's like the ballpark. Now, one thing I would always ask them is like how many podcasts each one of their account managers manages, because if you got someone working on your stuff, you don't want them working on 20 other podcasts. It's just impossible to have like so much stuff in the head. So that's one thing I would keep in mind.
Yeah.
We usually have
And the area
maximum and the area focus. We maximum have like 2 to 3 podcasts per account manager.
Okay. Yeah. Are you trying?
So here you own your price. You're like, yeah, we're hella expensive. We're like 2 times more costly than any other agency you go to. Own it. And then give them more reason, like subtle reasons, like, oh, by the way, we also do this. That's another part of why we're expensive. And people like expensive stuff. Like people want costliest good on the market oftentimes. So it plays into that psychology a bit. And then there's probably an agency charging $80,000 instead of $8,000. So yeah.
Trying to continue scaling in venture capital. I think the other thing to ask is does it all start to look and sound the same if you're going so broad in the venture category that we all are producing similar content, or how do you guys diversify?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the magic, right?
Yeah, and another thing is you guys have another format, which is what really excites us, because we're so used to seeing the one-on-one interview style that it's
we're bored of that. Yeah.
It's
like a personality-driven show. Yeah, it's a little bit more all in that regard.
And in terms of the look and feel, we're always this is what Sahibul said in the start. It's going to take a bit longer because we're adjusting what we're doing to match your branding. So I don't know if you can share, but we'll create a Notion page with your style of editing, your branding assets, your look, your voice, your tone, everything. So we really try to create a playbook. But the reason is because those are the people we like the most. We're doing this, we're literally just flying to the US to meet all our clients, because that is the real upside for us, more than the actual
So go beyond the money, go beyond the initial purpose. Oh yeah, we're just doing this to make money. That sucks. Talk about why you're in this company.
Agency and the free cash flow and all that stuff. It's meeting the really cool people in the industry.
Yeah, that's true.
And obviously VCs love to meet founders, things like that.
That's the one thing I would just say is that if we do get the go ahead, we need to get it this week, so that
After putting time pressure, always good.
we can actually kind of kick things off on our end, because the week of the 23rd till the 6th we are in the US, and it's going to be on the move. It's just going to be, you'll be frustrated if you try to at that time. We're not going to be
actually have to be in Japan that week. So we might be recording at a weird time, and
Suba and I were just in Japan actually. Where are you going?
we're going to Tokyo, Kyoto, and so we.
Another lesson here, spend money to make money. This is why, when you travel, you get life experiences, you can relate to people better, you can have better conversation.
Bring founders and other venture capitalists a lot on special trips. So.
How about we give you guys the first month free and we come join you on that?
I know. So you have to change all.
At this point, the deal is already closed. So it doesn't matter what email or proposal I really send after this.
All your plans.
Yeah, it's
come every year though, so yeah, you can come next year for sure.
That'd be awesome.
Awesome. Well, let me run this through our team, and we'll try to get back to you this week if we can, or might ask questions if we have them.
Got it. I'll send you an email with whatever we said, as well as sort of a PDF that gives you more of our portfolio, so you can actually look at the quality of work.
That'd be awesome. Great. Thank you guys.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Have a good day.
And my camera died right as the call ended. I hope you learned something from the sales call. You can see that towards the end when we literally asked her, oh yeah, maybe we give her a month off and we can join them on the next trip. So key lesson here is that it's very important to vibe with people in the first place. Like the connection is what will get you the sale oftentimes. And then obviously have amazing work, have an amazing portfolio to supplement that. Now we will be jumping to the email and proposal I sent to them, as well as the SLA to end the video.
All right, this was the email that we sent to them after the call. So I think I sent it right after. But essentially, hi, pleasure chatting with you. Custom proposal. So essentially, what we do is we have like a thing on Figma that we always edit for the clients that we want to give a little more effort. So we edit their logo and we tailor our mission section. And then essentially the rest of this is around our work, right? Like who we've done this for, and the case studies always help out. Now I don't want to show you the rest of this. Just let me keep something to myself. This is a lovely PDF. If this video gets 10,000 likes, I will show you guys this as well. But apart from that, this is the email. And then notice how I didn't really follow up. A lot of times following up can seem a little desperate, and in the market we sell, we don't follow up much. We have a lot of intervals before follow up. So like the first follow up would be in like 7 days. After that would be in like 3 weeks. So we're not that adamant on following up because we want people who are excited to work with us as well. When you're not desperate, that's when you get the sales that you really would want, right? So then, hey guys, good news, we would like to move forward. And then the concern was the turnaround time. So, I met some of the teammates in real life to figure out how we can accommodate for an insanely quick turnaround. And I think we'll manage. And then I let her know that we will do our best to, get it going. And I'm sure that we will. But obviously you don't want to tell that to them on email, but I already know we're going to manage. Then I sent an SLA to her for signing. An SLA is a service level agreement. It's a very basic contract based on like it's a handshake technically on what company and a customer agrees with. And the purpose of this is to have something in writing. This is a legal document, so if things get messy and it's a huge contract, sure you can go down the legal route, but it rarely ever works that way, right? So then what you want to do is parties, your company, and them. You can copy this template if you want. Term, minimum 3 months, intellectual property, all owned by them. The customer will pay this much, and here's the schedule. And we do it in a way where after the 3 minimum terms, it auto renews on a rolling basis, on a monthly rolling basis, which is what is called the ongoing term. Then it's a monthly contract. They can cancel it. That's totally fine. Now, confidentiality, because we don't like, some clients get discounts, some clients get charged slightly more because of the complexity of and the nature of different type of work, which is why we just have a clause of confidentiality. We wouldn't like our prices to always be out there. Then here are the exact services that we will be delivering. Termination and refunds. Here we have a little bit of a notice period. So we would need at least a 14 days notice before the ongoing renewal term, which is in this case 7th January 2025. And that has to be sent by email. Last is the signatures. Now, a lot of companies you work with will send this to their legal, and they'll have some stuff that they will want you to add or remove, such as indemnity. And essentially, you can use ChatGPT to navigate that. It's gotten really good at the point where currently you might not even need a lawyer yourself. This is a very rough template you can use for your agency or service-based business. And then after that, we got the signature and contract close. Join my WhatsApp group. I'm going to be dropping a lot more value over there, as well as some full versions of these, right? Because the call with Vihan was actually 30 minutes. You really want to get to know a lot about cold emails. That's where you'll get more value.